But these are, I'm not going to play all of them, but these are 7 hacks that I made in like the span of 2 hours. Literally all I did was using a racing tool to get rid of some stuff. I think this one makes the enemies invisible. I actually left their squash sprites and stuff though. So on the impossible side of the spectrum, this one would actually be beatable. We'll just do the first level. You can't see the enemies, but they're still there. Their hitboxes and everything are still active. They just don't have any sprites. Invisible Mario, this one would also be beatable. I just kind of made these for myself. I imagine like somebody else had already made these, but it took me a very short time to make them myself, so I did. Yeah, it's essentially how well do you know Mario. Like I said, the invisible enemies would be beatable. There's a normal and a hard version. The normal version, I left the random enemies visible. The Cheep Cheeps, the Bullet Bills, Bowser's Fire, all that's visible. And the hard version, it's all invisible, so that one would be pretty close to impossible. We'll do this one later. We'll do that one later. Here's the next step. Instead of invisible enemies, this is invisible stages. Again, I left the animation for hitting stuff there because I just think it visually looks better. So you just gotta remember where the holes are, which is a huge problem on later stages, like an absolutely huge problem later on. So yeah, this is the first step into the realm of impossibility. Invisible stages isn't very good. So how about invisible stages and invisible enemies? So we just keep going further down the rabbit hole into impossible. But I made these just for fun and to challenge myself one of these nights. I mean, beating the first level's, you know, nothing, but anything past the first level is really hard. I don't even know where I am. I'm right next to a hole, apparently. I did leave the background scenery and stuff, so you at least have some visual cues from where to jump at. Okay, let's see if we can actually beat the first level with it being invisible stage and invisible enemies. Nope. Try that. that again. We can at least beat the first goddamn level. Now, if I wanted to cheat, I could go down the pipe and just completely cheese it, but the object is to actually beat it without using the pipe. We're just gonna chill up here for a second. Chill up here for a second too, because there's gotta be a Koopa, like, somewhere. So there we go, we at least beat the first level. W Rabbit Hole. I would say thank you for the follow, but I doubt you're actually here in the stream. I followed them because randomly earlier I saw W Rabbit Hole streaming one of my speedruns, and I was like, what the fuck's going on here? Turns out, kind of like Task Replay, they just stream speedruns of people, but of real speedruns from speedrun.com. It's kind of cool. And the next level is essentially impossible in this version. I mean, I can at least play 2 seconds of it to show you how ridiculous it is, but it's essentially impossible unless you actually completely practice and memorize it. Because it's the level where there's just a bunch of platforms and everything underneath it's a hole. And not only are the platforms invisible, but all the enemies are invisible too. So yeah, there's that one. Can we make it even harder? We have invisible stages and enemies. Let's do nothing but Mario. So we have Mario and text, and that's literally it. There is literally nothing else in the game. Everything's still there. Everything still has hitboxes and stuff, but you can't see anything. It's all invisible. We didn't cheat, we didn't use the pipe. Renegade or Bart versus the mutants. I could try Bart versus the space mutants sometimes. I mean, I got a lot of love for that game, but the problem with Bart versus the space mutants is you have to press 2 buttons to long jump, and that becomes an absolute necessity. Nope. Almost had it. So, okay. Can we make it harder than literally nothing but Mario? Can we make it even harder? I mean, we went from, you know, invisible enemies to invisible Mario to invisible stages. Can we make it harder than invisible everything except for Mario? If you answered no, then you haven't seen this one. This one, literally everything but the text is invisible. Good luck. Yeah, this one actually, since I named them, oh, you can't even see the name. I named them all Super Impossible Bros. This one is essentially impossible. I could still beat the first level if I use the pipe. We can try using the pipe, but this one is quite like literally impossible. This one right here is definitely impossible. I wish I would have actually done the randomizer earlier. There's a new Mega Man 2 randomizer out that I wanted to mess with, but I didn't do any of the whatever. This is essentially, I made a bunch of ROM hacks where I made stuff invisible, and it went from just having invisible enemies to invisible stages to invisible stage and enemies to invisible Mario to invisible everything but Mario, and then to literally invisible everything. So it's just stupid ROM hacks that I made. Invisible Mario can be beaten. Invisible enemies, though it's hard, can be beaten. Invisible stages is ridiculous, and everything else is pretty much impossible. But that's probably enough Mario for now.